guess I just should start it.
Yeah, we don't know where this is going to go.
Well, so far we've talked about our boxes and being topless in Columbus, so.
Both on my side.
Yep. Get your shit together, Rachel.
No, you need to join in the fun.
I am. I'm making fun of you.
You're making the jokes, and I'm supposed to do them. Truth or dare, Kristen?
Dare. Yeah, anything you dare me can't is going to be unprofessional.
That's not true. That's not true. This is fun.
It is. So I was thinking,
I think we should record in other places. I'm digging the change in scenery.
yeah, I do too. I also want to do what you were talking about. I just realized on your video that I have my skirt up and I'm like, woo. I'll pull that down.
Now who's showing their box?
It's me.
It's you.
It's me.
Talking about Rachel's, Kristen's just showing hers.
Well, first of all, we're going to welcome.
We got to welcome.
So we have
Thanks.
a guest today.
Well, welcome to you two.
Thank you. We have a very special guest today, and it's actually our first guest ever, not the fly that Rachel's trying to.
It's a fruit fly. Sorry. You know, we're in a brewery.
They like it here.
Welcome, Art, to
Mystic Mamas.
Yay!
Thank you.
We-
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. We're in Columbus at Jackie O's Brewery on 4th.
Yes. And it's Andrew Arthur
Oestrike.
Oestrike. Okay, that actually
make sure we
is
get that pronunciation correct.
a lot easier than it looked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you go by
Oestrike.
Art. You go by your middle name.
I've been going by Art since a family vacation in Australia in 2003. I hadn't seen my sister nor my parents in a while. I was living with my brother. We were both teaching English in South Korea. And maybe there were beverages involved. And late at night, in ode to our grandparents, we were going to switch to our middle names because each of us has a middle name that's from our grandparents. Arthur, which was my mother's father, who passed before I never met him, 1972. And then my brother's middle name is Wilfred, which is my oldest son's first name. And then my sister, both of my grandmothers had the name Irene somewhere in their name. So Katie Irene Oestrike. So she was supposed to go by Reenie from that moment forward. My brother by Wilfred, whatever rendition you want to take, and Art for me. But at that time, I was about to move back to Athens, Ohio. And I had been teaching in South Korea for 3 years. I had bought a business with my great friends Lenny and Megan, and called Bagel Street Deli in Athens. And so bought that before I moved home. And kind of funny, I also applied for graduate school at OU to be a teaching assistant in linguistics. So two of my 3 letters of recommendation urged them to call me Art, even though I had lived in Athens for 7 years before that, and people knew me as Andy or Oestrike and all that stuff, and, Art was born, so.
Yeah, I love that. Now, so your sister does not go by Reenie, I take it.
Not a chance.
And does your brother go by Wolf?
Once in a while I call him Wilfred or Wilf, but now that Wilfred, my oldest,
yes,
then that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But we talk about it whenever we're together, for sure. But yeah.
So family is something that is really important to Rachel and I. And one of the reasons that we initially reached out to you is once we started to learn more about your story, we knew that it was just very aligned with who we are and what we believe in. And so I would just love to kind of dive into exactly what brought us here.
Yeah. And just talk about the story of how
just
it
talk
all
about
came
the
about.
story.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, let's start into. So we had never heard of Jackie O's or your beer, Mystic Mama, and a dear friend of ours who we consider chosen family. I don't know if you've ever heard this term where it's you have given family and you have chosen family. And so he was traveling for work, and he had gone to a restaurant. This was in West Virginia, down by Charleston. And he went to a bar, and they had Mystic Mama on draft. And so then he ordered 2 drafts and sent us a picture. And he's like, look, 2 Mystic Mamas, ha, 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 whatever. And I was like, wait, is that for real the name of the beer? And long story short, he said yes. And I was like, oh, my God. And he brought us back a 6-pack. And he, naturally, Kristen can't have any because she's got a little gluten thing. But I was... Yeah.
It is bullshit.
Super bullshit.
She was real mad last night, too, when I had cool beans, and she was like...
I smelled it, and I was like, this is doubly bullshit.
And we said we were like, I think he has some gluten options for you. And he was like, I don't know what they are. Maybe they're out of his personal stash.
Yeah, there's some peak here somewhere. Yeah.
But, and so it was, oh my God, it was right around the eclipse. And the energy was fucking bananas. And we had all of these, like, I don't want to say catastrophic, but like really fucked up things happen at the house, like one after another, to the point where my husband at one point was like, what did I do? Like, what exactly did I do in a past life that, like, this weird stuff's happening? And I was like, oh, it's me. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm just bringing the energy. So sorry. And so the one night when all this flooding was happening, I cracked the Mystic Mama. And I was like, oh, this makes everything so much better. And I still hadn't looked anything up, nothing, right? I was like, this is a good fucking beer. And shortly thereafter, Kristen and I were just brainstorming the one day where we had admin days, and we were talking about like partnerships and guests and like where we see the vision of where we see the podcast going. And I got dropped an idea right in my brain that was like, you should look into Jackie O's. So I pulled up your website and I just started reading about your story. And to Kristen's point, the vibe, just, you can read stuff and immediately know there's a vibe there, like that, things just translate, right? And I was like, I'm just going to completely cold pitch them and see if it sticks, because I just feel something, and if you go with your gut 9 times out of 10, and it works, right? Yeah. So, and then we had our Zoom. The Zoom was set up. We had some correspondence prior to that, and there was great energy on the Zoom. And so here we are recording in your second location in Columbus, not in Athens.
First location in Columbus. Only location in Columbus.
First and only at the moment.
The location.
The location. There we go. And it's such a cool space and vibe and all the things. And I'll let you kind of intersect here. I don't want to talk the whole time.
No, it's okay. We want to hear from you. We're here to talk to you. So I want to hear and we're just going to like dive right in. What does Mystic Mama mean to you? So
the love of your mother, okay? The passion that drives us, the elusive thing to me today, right? Like the sense of, if anyone's lost a parent, you get it. You're like, okay, well, mom died at 57, and it's like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. Cancer sucks. Very healthy individual, non-smoker, and like, you're always looking for that love again. It's out there. It's mystical in my brain, right? Mm-hmm. That's where that's at. So, and every day you're like, Jackie O's Pub and Brewery when you answer the telephone. It's like this funny thing that goes on every day within, these 4 or 5 different establishments, depending on the day that we're open, right? Mm-hmm. That these things are always happening and always being said. So it's started off as a very different scenario or scene. When this thing got, the name changed to Jackie O's in 2007, but it's always been an homage to her and that welcoming home that she created for us when we were children. Welcome, doors are open, everybody's welcome. Good day, bad day, whatever. Be nice to people. Mm-hmm. Come on in.
Yeah, I love that. It is a very maternal thing to do. I think the sense of community, too, and like you said, like just welcoming in people into your home, that is a learned trait. That's something that it is. It's such a beautiful homage to her in so many ways, and it keeps her spirit so present.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so great.
Yeah, pretty wild. I told her on Mother's Day 06, I was like, I'm going to name this thing Jackie O's Pub and Brewery. She's like, a bar. I was like, it's going to be a lot more than a fucking bar, Mom.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Was she a big spiritual person? Was she into the mystic at all?
A little bit. I mean, I don't think she knew she was. But yes, right. I believe is the answer. Her sister Pam, who was a year and a half, my Aunt Pam was a year and a half younger than Jackie, plus or minus a month or two. was much more spiritual than her, outwardly. But I think it was in there. I never asked the right questions, maybe.
Well, Rachel and I have talked about this, where I feel like we don't necessarily know that we're spiritual or have these gifts, right? And it's like a muscle, right? It's something you have to use and work on. And so I think especially people from like previous generations sometimes just don't know how fucking magical they are, right? And then it's when they're gone that the people around them really like lift them up in spirit.
Well, yeah, well put, because like that's a very real thing, that was the center of a large group of people, individuals, community, right? And didn't necessarily know that at the time, but then in that absence, we've all gotten so much closer because of that absence.
Correct.
Yeah.
The matriarch. And it's interesting too, like when a matriarch passes, if there's someone there a single person to step up and kind of, again, not replace, but just like take control of the situation and make sure, or it's a group that comes together as a community to support and bring back that, because that feeling that, you touched on, Art, where it's like, once they're gone, there is like a gap and a hole, and it's like, how do you get back to having that feeling, that love, that sense of like camaraderie and community and just that energy.
Well, and to take it a step further, when you do create that, how do you honor yourself while you're running a business in the same way that you're honoring your mom?
Well, that's a heck of a question. I mean, rephrase this question. How do you honor that every day? I think it's by trudging forward and continuing the mission, right? You have good days, you have bad days, but, holistically continue to invest in community, be a pillar in the community, and be a place or a person who invites that in.
Yeah.
Be it in your walls, in your heart, in your brain, in your pocketbook sometimes, whatever it may be.
What was your mom's middle name?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Okay. I'm just thinking about
Jacqueline Carol Oestrike. And my sister and I argue whether it was Carolyn or Carol.
Okay.
Is she gonna email us and be like, listen, I'd like to come on your podcast and discuss her middle name, please?
She would love that. I'm sure we could get her on the phone if we really wanted.
That's amazing.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that building a business and building something that's honoring your mom has to be steeped in ritual for you, right? Like the process of brewing beer, right? All of that. And so I think that's something that kind of everybody can understand and feel in their own lives, right? Is like, how are you creating ritual around honoring these people and creating your life, right?
Yep.
Because otherwise you're just like here, there, everywhere. And that's not what builds a life or business.
Well, that's like we're finally doing a Kipling trip. So it was Jackie Kipling, was her maiden name. We're finally doing this trip. And so the Aunt Pam, who I just referenced, she passed many years ago too. And so, but it's my brother's not coming, but sorry.
Whoops.
So
Sorry,
it's
buddy.
Katie and Aaron, and then me and the boys in one spot. And then my cousins, Allison and Emily, their husbands. And then Allison has two boys as well, same age as mine, are very close, and we're all going to OBX in 2 weeks. For like the first trip that we're really doing
Yes.
with the
That's
group of us.
awesome.
And so I think it begins.
It's beautiful down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah, I'm
idea where that
pumped.
is.
I love road tripping, so we're, throw those two in the car,
Do
get
you
a keg
have
or two of beer,
do
and I'll
you
forget.
like RV or an Airstream? Or I know you said you had a truck.
I will take my truck. There's a condo down there. There is an Airstream that is in need of some serious love that's in my life. So not yet on that, but that's a goal.
That's fun. Oh, someone's down there.
I know. Hey, Great House, keep it down. You heard me. Hi. What's that?
That's amazing.
We should have him cameo and come talk about barley wine.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Is the noise down there going to jack everything up in our audio or no?
I don't think so.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay, great.
I mean, we like to live authentically, so even if there's a little bit of noise in the background, I think that's fine. It just serves to what we're doing here.
So me telling Great House to shut the F up was good.
Staying.
No, I love
Staying
that.
in
Yeah, we're not gonna
100%.
edit that.
I might
out.
cut a lot of shit, but that's staying.
Great. Perfect. I had a feeling.
All right, so I think your mom. I don't think your mom would definitely be proud of that list that you have expanded upon. Mm-hmm. So much more than just a fucking bar. Holy cow, right? And I think to Kristen's point, where we were about the alchemy and the chemistry and everything that goes into brewing, when you had the idea with your two other friends to buy that bagel shop and turn it into something, was a brewery always on that list?
The idea of buying a bar was on the list. Now, Mom grew up in England. Okay, so Newcastle Brown Ale was just living in my fridge.
Okay.
Right? And she didn't drink much beer. But as soon as I was like 15, 16, Sunday, we had dinner together every day, right? Like that's like part
Sunday
of
roast,
ritual.
right?
Well, every day, let alone Sundays. And Sundays, a lot of times her family would come over, or somebody would be over a lot of times on Sundays. But she'd be like, you want to split a Newcastle with me? I'm like, sure, very European, very,
Yep, I'm down.
Yep. So I'm like, sure, let's do it. So that's where my beer world started. It was with not American yellow beer, which was great. It's funny, but growing up, we played a lot of soccer. My brother, all three of us did a lot of soccer. So my junior and senior year in high school, my brother had these games, indoor soccer. It was like 30 weeks long a season, and the games were an hour away, and my brother needed to be there an hour before the game started, and the game was an hour. So if you do that math, there's 4 hours of freedom that I would have. And the games would start at 8, 9, or 10 o'clock on Friday nights. So, of course, me being who I am, I just invited all my friends over every single Friday for those 4 hours. And kind of had a party, and then would do everything I could to clean up the house before they got back home. Multiple times, Brian and or Katie, then in middle school, would find a beer on the mantle and get rid of the beer, right? And so destroy the evidence, right? And then I'd always blame it on my best friends, and that the three of us would be over, but it was like a continual, habitual thing, 2 years in a row. And my siblings didn't get away with that because I did, right? The idea of, I think, having and hosting parties started then.
Yeah.
I think that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And, so the idea of buying a bar was always there.
Okay.
Okay. I lived in South Korea for a couple of years teaching English before moving back to the States as art. And it's always comical.
I feel like that's so true too. When you go and you kind of discover yourself and you come back a new person, regardless of the name, but you still come back shaped differently than when you left.
And the funny thing is, they're like, "What was different?" And I was like, "Well, no, I was different."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what was different about South Korea? No, nothing. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody poops.
Right.
Everybody eats.
Yep.
Everybody, we're humans. Wanted to buy a bar. Athens, Ohio is a big party town. It's always been historically known as that. And one with a defunct brewery was for sale. And so, kind of attacked that mission. Thankfully, Jimmy Prouty, RIP, did not want to sell to the people who owned most of the bars in Athens.
Okay.
So that was the in that worked out. And thankfully the SBA, again, I'm sitting in SBA project number 3, maybe 4, under our watch. And boom,
and
boom,
what
boom.
is SBA?
The Small Business Administration.
Okay.
Yep, funding vehicle.
Okay.
Through my partners at the bank, the local bank in Athens, they've funded most of the projects to date, including this crazy one. There's a brewery in there, and my really great friend Brad Clark, we had done some homebrews together. Brad was an avid home brewer, and he had worked at O'Hooley's, which is now Jackie O's original location. And boom, 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 got the keys in December 12th, 2005, and spent 6-7 months making that brewery more functional than what it was. It needed a lot of love. It needed some TLC. The entire facility did, and kind of jumped in and did that full bore. Mom was diagnosed like 3 weeks later, though. So then it was all a big kind of a whirlwind situation there. And she passed in June of '06. So brewed the first beer in June of '06 after kind of putting that facility back together. And, it was a bar, full service, full tilt bar, wine, spirits,
Right.
beer. Got rid of macros almost immediately.
Yep.
Other than Guinness. Trudged at it, okay, and grew every 3-4 years. Seemed like we added another building. The first one was right next door to the original location, so that's where kind of our restaurant is today, and just kind of kept going in that direction.
Yeah.
Very lucky that one of the first, what makes a business successful? You get these questions all the time. It's like,
Yes.
well, luck is in the top 3. Okay, there's a couple of real lucky moves happened in those early years.
Well, you know who you can attribute that to.
Sure. Here we go.
Never too far away.
Right.
Right. So if luck is in the top 3, what are the other 2?
I mean, hard work.
Yeah, great.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Grit. Attacking.
Yeah.
Attacking. I think opportunity is up there. Like just having the opportunity, having the ability to like think, oh, well, let's just do it yourself. Let's just go do it. And I mean, being able to wear many hats. You've got to be able to be nimble and agile. It doesn't seem like this thing is nimble and agile today, but most of them are. You can kind of switch things up and run in different directions. And I think it's so important that you have that ability to be able to mentally pivot and say, all right, that idea is not going to fucking work.
Yep.
Okay, move this way. And I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. But you have to know that it's the dollars and the feelings that communicate to you.
Well, I think when something's built on passion and not just dollars, it's a lot easier to be adaptable and flexible to the things that are happening around you. Because
True.
it's not just about the money at that point.
No, and I think too with any business, it's kind of listening to that intuition and that feeling because people naturally make decisions based on how they feel. And, if you're driving that and you are driving it from a place that is like in your soul, the energy follows that too. You can't have a successful restaurant and brewery without grit and hard work though. There's no fucking way.
You have to work.
Yeah.
Right.
I speak at, so Athens, Ohio is a college town,
Yeah.
right? I end up speaking all the time in these random weird places, right? I'm like, save your money and keep your day job. And they're like, what are you talking about? I would have to work for 70 hours a week. I'm like, minimum. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I gave up, after running around like a loose cannon for a number of years. As soon as I got home and opened up that location, I was married to that.
Yep.
That's what I was doing,
Yep.
For a long time. Wake up, teach, and start managing.
Yeah.
Just run it that way and just keep going.
Do you make space regularly for like the creative process to take place onto like what beers you're thinking of? Because when you look at the repertoire of beers that you actually have made over the years, it's a lot. When I looked, it was like 14 pages of beers.
There's
And
going
like
to be a
beer,
lot.
wine, mead, all this stuff. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, where do you, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you come up with that process of like, do you sit down with, is Brad still your...
No, Brad is out in California today.
Okay.
In 18 or 19, Brad moved to Santa Cruz with his fiance. But my team is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, and I didn't...
Let's talk about the team. Yeah, let's talk about the team.
I'm not here without the team.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no doubt about it. That original facility, there were 5 or 6 of us working there the first couple of years. You're not here without the team. Mm-hmm. Okay, you need the team. I believe that the best thing you can do for your team is empower your team. Okay, so my team currently has over 100 years brewing experience.
Yeah.
Okay, for who's on the team. I trust them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
At our R&D facility, our original location, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay, you can just run.
Yeah.
Okay, play with it. Like, we will eat that beer via draft lines here or in Athens, no problem, right? If it tastes like garbage, will you dump it?
Yeah,
Okay?
right.
That rarely happens. And you have to play. You have to practice. You got to try new stuff. And Cool Beans was born at the brew pub.
Yeah.
Right. And so you made, we've been talking about Cool Beans all morning, and like that started the brew pub, and that was Liam's baby. And Liam, who still brews uptown, kept pushing, and we did can it one year.
Yeah.
And it's a cool thing, and it's empowering to the team to be able to have that creative expression. And I get questions, no problem, and all I do is take the information in and act upon it. Ask questions to our distributor and ask questions to different, in the market. And Johnny's out there asking questions in that way, and all the different stuff. You're like pulling in all this information to make an educated decision on what you're going to do in 2025 right now. So,
so like the planning.
So right now we're working on our release calendar for 2025, and it's the funny games because you don't know what's coming at you.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening, and you're thinking about this so far in advance. The new woodcut that we just got is a black bear with a warbler on its nose looking at the sun. Okay. And it's just like it's just funny because we know we need the artwork, and it takes 7, 8, 9 months to go from the woodcut to printed can.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that process.
And so it's just the whole thing and how it works. And so you start with your calendar, but you have to work backwards and forward based on what products you've been playing with, what the market, what they're saying down there, what the customer is screaming with their money, with their choices. Hey, I want this.
Yes.
I want this. And so you have all this data. It's a matter of using it and moving forward with it in the right way.
Well, and that's such a beautiful way of doing business, right? You're taking data and you are combining that with giving people freedom, right? And like when you're talking about, you don't know what's going to come next, right? You don't know what's going to happen in 2025. It's those blind spots that the growth like really occurs. And you're allowing that to happen with planning and preparation, but also freedom of expression and creativity so that the people around you feel included, right? They feel like what they're doing matters. And I feel like that really speaks to the vibe of this place, because when we came in here last night, every single employee that you had was vibing. Mm-hmm. Nice. They were all wonderful, and you could just tell how you run your business based on how your employees were. And before they ever knew who we were either, right? Like that was, before they knew we were here to talk to you, like the vibes were so good.
Yeah. And also, we love that you have cocktails on draft.
It's called Manifesting.
It's called Manifesting.
So
I was
good.
like, that drink is our drink. That's what we should be.
It was amazing. Listen, and you mentioned Australia a little bit ago. The last time I had a really good Pimm's drink was when I was in South Australia.
Nice.
And so I was like, oh, this is even more magical.
Yes.
I was very excited.
Nice.
It was.
Well, it's funny. So, you take this data, okay, and you're going for it, right? You don't necessarily know. We have this year, the push was for 12 packs, right? So you look at the data, you look at who else, and the beers have been on a slow decline really a fast decline since 2019. And I looked at the top 20 beers sold in craft sections of Ohio.
Okay.
So when you're talking about national brands,
yep.
But who's where, and we're sitting 14, 15, 16, depending on time of year, place, and stuff like that. We're the only ones that didn't have like a 12-pack, like a value-added 12-pack. We're still only with 6-packs, and so 12-packs launched this February, and we're seeing growth.
Yes.
Okay, and then, I was complaining about packaging issues for a new product that is coming out this week in collaboration with Ohio University, who's in our backyard, and Ohio University and Joe Burrow and Jackie O's are kind of near the top of the list for what came from Athens, Ohio.
Yeah. Right,
degrees and some beer and Mr. Burrow. I wish he was on the Browns. So,
we're not going to talk football, are we?
I don't think so.
I don't think we should.
I almost wore a different hat.
Let me just interject. I grew up in Baltimore. Wait.
Fuck off.
Well, we didn't.
That's the original Browns, bro.
Yeah. So when I lived there, we didn't even have a football team, and
the Colts.
You had the Colts.
They were already gone.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So when I was growing up, it was Washington, right? That was the only.
Thereafter, though.
Right.
No, I think the Colts went to Indianapolis in the 70s.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Right?
I was born in
81.
Google that shit.
But, this rivalry is intense especially, I mean, you have the Browns and the Steelers, obviously, but also the Ravens and the Steelers. And so
But that's the OG. That's why everyone says that the Browns now, like, no one gives a shit because
I have elementary school friends would send me holiday cards with like Steelers suck, let's go Ravens written all over the outside of the envelope. I'm like, my mailman is
Jeff, my favorite story is
issue.
Jeff was at a game and there was a couple and they were walking down and it was a Browns. I don't know if she was wearing it or he was wearing it, and a Steeler, and somebody was like, "It's never gonna work!" like yelling at them.
I actually have a funny story. Before I started dating my husband, I went on a date with a guy, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take you to a Steelers game," and he's like, "Yeah, I have like this, box with my employer, and it's in Cleveland," and so he picks me up, and we go there. And we get in the box, and he takes his jacket off. And
back to the box.
Back to the box. He has all Browns gear on, and I was like, "Oh, I've been deceived." Like,
That's hilarious.
No clue.
So many relationships can either start,
it didn't last,
or end at a football game. Let me tell you, I left a football game with my now husband on our second date, and was so drunk I told him that I wanted him to be the daddy of my babies.
Oh, there we go. That worked.
Let's just jump right in.
Yeah.
That's called manifesting.
Yeah, that's called manifesting.
In 1984, the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis.
Oh, see, there you go.
1996, 12 years later, the Browns moved to Baltimore. So 12 years?
Yeah, I left in that time, so no football when I was there.
Yeah. You win.
You win, Kristen. You win.
It's not about winning.
All right. So, anyways, back to and that's enough sports talk, unless we want to talk soccer. But we're talking about your awesome employees in the community and empowering people, which I think is so true. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a boss was, "I will teach you how to do my job, not so you can take it, but that you are capable of knowing all the things to level the fuck up." And I think that is true in parenting. I think that's true in being a good manager, right? And just because when you get that, like, that power, and it's power, but it's like, how do you diversify it? How do you give it away, right? Because it's not all for you, because we all know what happens if you take all of it, right? That never ends well. You might make a lot of money, but you'll be fucking miserable.
You crash and burn.
Yeah. So, like, I think that is such sound advice, is to empower people, employees, children, anybody you meet, and encourage and love and all of that. It's very simple. I think it's very simple.
I've said this a lot of times. I just trained myself out of a job. Okay,
Yes.
This place opened 15 months ago, and total chaos, total shit show. It was a great shit show, but total shit show.
Yep, yeah.
And, but it's really coming into its own. I think, I would say right now it's 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
Working its way towards being 24 this time next year.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's kind of knows how to, make grilled cheeses and, survive.
Mm-hmm.
And it could get by without your parents around for a little bit and that kind of thing. So, always be training out of a job is kind of like one thing I've
Yep.
pushed.
We were, when we were doing the tour yesterday, we were walking around and we had gone into the section that is kind of not utilized right now, and you guys are like figuring out like if you're going to use what's in there or what have you. But I noticed that all of, what are those boards called that you write on?
Like whiteboards?
No, not whiteboards, but the ones that you can like rip the papers off of.
Big Post-its. That's
what, okay.
Poster Post-its kind
the
of.
big Post-its. And we noticed that, and her name's going to escape me. Alyssa. Thank you. I knew it started with an A. Naturally we didn't meet her, but like you could just tell how her brain operates and her craft. Like I was like, what are all these recipes? And I was like, oh my God, you guys should frame these. Like that's so, like, just the creative process of like, you can see it in action, right? Like, and how she also empowers her cocktail staff to come in and be like, hey, make me a cocktail. We'll figure it out. We'll craft it. If this doesn't work, maybe this works. And the alchemy and chemistry that goes into what creates a great cocktail, right? It's not just, throw a bunch of shit in with ice. Like there's, the heart, the passion. I love that.
It's funny, those Post-its. how Alyssa uses them are very different from how I use them. Okay, that's like how it works. And my dad was a drywall finisher, union drywall finisher. He had 7 or 8 guys working for him my whole life, and so I'm pretty dangerous on a construction site, and because I was there sanding drywall lots of times in my teenage years, and every time we're on a construction site, usually I'm GCing it in Athens, or if not here, I didn't do that, but big post-it, and just tiny little words, lists upon lists of shit that needs to get done and who's tackling it.
Okay.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
I have talked for years that these should be framed.
Yes.
But they're just a big shit show mess of my brain on a paper. But,
I know.
Yeah, but isn't that artwork?
That is what we capture, though. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's something, because the other thing is too, when you look at like the beginning of a project where you can see that chaos, you can feel that chaos. Even when you go back and read it, you know, it's there, it's captured. And there's something very real about writing stuff down. Like I know notes, you're such a good note taker on iPhone. I suck at it. I'm like voice to text, and then I go back, I'm like, I don't know what that means. What did that mean? You know, but I think there is something about the progression of a project and like seeing and capturing that, and then looking back and seeing where you were, like where you're going to be 20 years from now, and looking back at the birth and the development of this space and of your brain. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
And I bet there's 2 little boys that will think it's cool as shit too.
Yeah, maybe. One of them for sure. The other one I'm not sure yet.
The jury's still out.
The jury's
Well, that
out,
jury
yeah.
changes from time to time.
I know, I can tell.
As they develop and change,
Quickly.
you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, what happened? Where'd
I
that
know.
one go?
Children are so great.
Yeah.
All right, so I have other questions.
Wait, hold on. We're
Okay.
going to go back. So
Yes.
we are looking at growth. Okay?
Oh, yeah,
It was
let's talk-
time-
okay.
It was
Yeah.
time
Yep.
to
We'll
grow,
talk about
right?
growth.
Let's talk
And
about
so
growth.
we put Mystic and Seafoam, Blast from the Past, comes
saw
back
it down
to year
there.
rounder, and that hit 12 packs as well, right out the gate. So you wanted to have 2. Well, Ricky is coming this week. The cartons, the final piece of our puzzle, are getting picked up by my team today, and we will be packaging Ricky into 12 packs starting tomorrow morning, bright and early. And a lot of them are coming off the line this week. And, you know, you go through these different phases. You go through these different phases, and you're like, all right, do we want to grow again? How do we want to do that? How's that going to work? And what's 2025 look like? Well, the idea of getting 12 packs really gives us a 2-3 year runway on how we're going to grow, because we're going to keep getting more and more product into those. And, you know, this can that we're looking at on the table is great, but it's a pretty small billboard. The 12 packs get a lot bigger. Okay, and the way how you can showcase this beautiful artwork that Bryn's done and all these things, and that, you know, Bryn and the Jackie O's design team have done over the years.
Yeah.
The billboard just got a lot bigger.
Sure.
Which is pretty sweet. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to talk about growth, I want to talk about the mindset behind it, because, you know, when you think about growth mindset, if we are putting ourselves in a category and you're saying, I'm a business owner, or I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm a brewer, or whatever terminology we use, we really are diminishing all of the things that we are, right? So I had listened to another podcast, and they were talking about this and the psychology behind it. And so when you have somebody who's a CEO, they're right, this is how I'm identifying myself. I'm a CEO. This is what I do. And then the company comes through and they no longer have a job, and they feel lost because they view themselves as a CEO. They didn't view themselves as a person who was building connections between people. Or in your case, like, you are a person that can very easily take raw materials and transform it into a finished product and create stunning visuals that are tactile, right? If you look at your wall over here that you've, you know, designed with all these amazing collectibles and pieces of art, you know, to what you're physically doing with beer. And I think that that's so important, and something to recognize is that you have this amazing ability to do more than just be a business owner. You know, how much of that do you feel like came from your upbringing, from your mom, of like your ability to create and cultivate and see yourself as something more than just a bar owner?
Sure. So, well, it comes from both parents, right? I saw my dad working, your normal work day, but then also running the business between 7 and 9 p.m. every night, right? And so he'd get home from work at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and he wouldn't work till 7, but at 7 he was back on it Sunday night through Thursday night, unless there was a soccer game of one of ours to attend or something like that. That's kind of what he was doing. And I just think about, he had his office, but also his room where he was on the phone, pacing around on the phone like I do today. But he had a whiteboard in there. It was also the laundry room. Okay, but it was set up for him to work in, and he could shut the door and be, that kind of thing. And so there's that part of it, physically boots on the ground, running it and communicating with the people, be the jobs he's got to go to or the humans who got to go work at those jobs he's got to go to. Then there's mom on the other side who ran the household. When Katie went to middle school, mom got her license to drive a school bus because she just wanted to be around little kids. And so as soon as Katie, I think it was 7th grade, mom started that job at the next school district over. And because Katie didn't need her to get to school at that point, right? And she's like, well, I'm moving forward, right, with what I want to do. And so between the two of them, you're getting all these different pieces and parts that then make you, right? And so that the empathetic side of mom, I think, really hit home. And then the ability to utilize and use resources came from both of them. And then the entrepreneurial, this doesn't stop drive comes from dad, right? So the way you work in there, but then, between people on my team, Heather and Loire and Seth, Ryan, Cornelius, at the upper levels of the company today, giving them the freedom to let Chris and Liam and JT and whomever run their respective arenas is a big, big deal. And so that all, again, plays into it where I don't know. I think that's more mom allowing the delegation, trusting that they're going to get it and do it. Even if you think maybe you could do it better yourself. We kind of alluded to this earlier, where how that all jives together and swims together to get you where you're supposed to be, to get you to the point you're at.
Right. But I think, too, the one thing that your team, I will just go out on a limb and say, has probably learned really well from you is the art of communication and, being transparent and bringing that forth, that you can also trust that if something goes sideways or haywire and they need you, you are available. So it's not like they're running their areas, but there's always tethered lines to other people to be like, hey, I need support. Hey, I need help. Because life happens too, where it's, you do have to take a step back from time to time and focus on whatever it is that takes place. And it's really great if you have a team that can also support you while you're doing that.
Well, you have to, I've always said I'm best in the crisis moments, right? Where it's that's when you've got to be your calmest and sit down and take care of it. I was standing there the other day, and this is hilarious. I'm on a total tangent, but I want to come back to this and the team, right? Because they don't think I could do it, even though I did it. And we'll come back to that thought. But me and the boys are walking up to the tap room. Well, they're on their scooters, and I'm on foot, and the tap room's slamming busy. And the boys are both like, what's going on over there? I'm like, I don't know, it's busy. It's the same place we always go to. Just scoot on in there and go put your scooters where they need to be.
Yep.
It's real busy. And I was like, all right, I'm going to grab a 24 beers and just sell them for cash in the middle of this line because we're slammed. There's a line 22 people deep. I'm like, we gotta, it makes me stressful. I'm still palpitating,
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you two come with me or go play with the mule camps. I don't care. They come with me, and Wilfred's got a real loose tooth, and the first one went down his digestive tract, and he was really worried about it. Okay.
I told my kid that happened with him. I was like, well, you can't, tooth fairy, sorry, it's in your poop now.
Right.
And they were so mad.
Yeah, and anyways. So then I'm standing there, right, and this is all happening, and Wilfred's been really worried about it. He was making food choices so he didn't lose his tooth, and these things, and I don't know if I said the wrong thing or what happened, but he was really worried about it, and so I'm in the middle. I've sold 6 or 8 cans of beer, and he looks at me. He's like, Dad, and he's holding something. Of course, we all know what it is with my story, but I reach out, I got nothing, and I just continue moving forward, and then 2 minutes later, he's like, hey, Dad, do you have my tooth? And I was like, oh, fuck. And I immediately stopped selling, okay? I was like, crisis. I got a crisis, a pending crisis. And I just stop what I'm doing. I was like, hey, you people got to hold on. And I sit in the ground and I'm like, all right, talk to me. And I get real calm, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like focused because I'm like, this is the moment. Right?
Yes.
This is the moment. And I'm like, we found it. Thank God. It's just on the floor over there. But at that moment, you gotta be the calmest you can be.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Something happens in the brewery, the wrong label, we're running the right beer, and the right beer got the wrong label, and all right, well, we have to be transparent and we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The hardest part about communication, though, is that sometimes you don't know the plan and you're formulating, working on your unknown 2025. Okay, there's a demographic today, and I employ several of them. They don't like when I'm doing something and they don't know about it. But then as soon as I open up and I'm like, hey, here's all the shit we're doing or I'm working on, they're like, well, how are you going to do all that? I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
It's not time for you to know yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ease off.
Yeah.
And
Let it happen.
You let it happen.
Right.
When you need to know, I'm going to tell you, and I can tell you all the stuff, but that's just you're not going to be able to focus on what you want to be focusing on to get your shit done if you're stuck worrying about what I'm doing.
Yes.
Because only 10% of what I'm doing is 30% is going to actually happen.
Yeah, but isn't that so true of life? It's like we spend so much time and energy worrying about potentially what other people are doing.
And stuff we can't control.
Right, 100%.
You can only control what you can control.
Totally. Yeah. And I think a lot of times it's when people get in their ego and they start freaking out because they're worried about something that's not even existent.
You get to this point and you're like, all right, well, there's a crisis somewhere. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go do it. Like, well, yeah, but you don't know how to. I was like, yeah, I do. I used to do this. I'm like, I don't know the password to that. Okay, but I know the gist of it. Mm-hmm. And you have also trained your team. So I'm going to roll in and they're going to be like, oh man, Art's here. What's going on? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be like, all right, who can log into this and who can do this? Because we got to do that. And they're like, oh yeah. And your team knows how to do it. Like, I don't care who I've mentioned or haven't mentioned in the microphone today, but like, they've taught their team how to do these things.
Right.
And I know what you have to do. I know the premise of it. Right? Yes, there's a lot of things I haven't done in a long time, but I know how to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, on a micro level, there's only so much you can hold in your brain
all the time
when you need to, make space for other things, and especially when you're creating big things. Mm-hmm. It's those details. You can come back to them at any time and relearn that, niche information.
Totally. And it comes back to communication too. And if you're good at asking questions, you'll be just fine in figuring out how the fuck to get whatever it is done.
But then some people don't think I'm good at communication, but I think in the past 3 years, through personal experiences and personal things in my life, that I've been like, you know what? Well, parenting, if you don't communicate clearly, it's not going to work. It has to be out there, clear as a bell to a 3-year-old.
Oh, bless it all. I just had this argument. We were packing for Colorado, and I was telling my oldest, who is 11, I was like, just make sure you layer, pack some sweatshirts. And she's like, or I said, pack some hoodies. And she's like, you said sweatshirts. And I was like, yeah, long sleeve? Like, can't we just encompass everything together? Like, why do I have to be so specific that it has to be a hoodie or a sweatshirt? I was like, just pack a long sleeve. It's fine. Like, I get so annoyed sometimes. Like, Graham, he was loading the dishwasher, and I was like, I must have said I'm going to hand the silverware to you, but instead I set it on the counter right in front of the dishwasher on top of it. And I was like, are you going to put it in the dishwasher? And he's like, you said you were going to hand it to me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm like, just put it in the dishwasher. Anyways,
it's unbelievable.
Sometimes talking with children, I'm like, okay, yes, I will try to be more specific with what you need.
The linguist in me, I'm on a mission to destroy the double negative. I don't disagree with you. It's like my pet peeve right now. It's like, how that is like the easiest way to be negatively passive aggressive or something. It's like, I agree with you. It's like, oh, delightful.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try it this way, but I agree with you.
Yes.
Even if there's a but in there, I don't disagree. However, it's like negative all over the place.
This is like when people say irregardless, and it makes me want to pull my hair out.
Or literally.
I'm glad you said that one.
Irregardless.
I don't know, Art. I might really trigger you from time to time. because Rachel is. Whoa!
Listen, she speaks her own language.
I make up shit, and
you should study her language.
Well, so linguistics is up to the language is how you want to use it. Okay, it's yours. Your language is yours, and yours is yours, and it's how we commingle with those.
Well,
right?
we call them Rachelisms because I just make shit up, and then I have definitions for shit. Like the one time on the podcast, I was like, "No, there's a polar vortex in Tulum," and Kristen was like.
No, there's not.
Tulum.
No, there's fucking not.
Definitely not a polar vortex. And I was
maybe Vancouver.
I was like,
she went so hard too. Just like,
And I was like, maybe it's in Sedona.
No.
Also not in fucking Sedona.
Anyways,
Cleveland.
it's fine.
Okay, I'll take Cleveland.
Yeah. Anyways, I make shit up all the time.
I do have a question about, like, you have so many collaborations, which I think is cool. You have collaboration with Camp right now.
We do.
Which is super cool. I love them.
They were kind of born in Athens, or I've known them for years. We have all known them for years. Like they went to OU, and so they've been around.
That's really
that helps a bunch. This collaboration is like years in the making.
That's
years.
even more epic.
Yeah.
So, when you are like collaborating and coming up with something like this, what's the process like for you?
So it starts off with a personal relationship. Almost always. You meet somebody at a beer fest or wherever, and you strike up a conversation, or they come to visit you, or whatever may happen. It could be via email, whatever. And you make friends, and you keep communicating. And I'm not the best at keeping in communication with people. I'm not the best at that. But that's where it all starts. And so you're traveling, you go visit someplace. You're like, hey, I'm rolling through. And you just develop this relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing you know, you're inviting them, or they're inviting you, and you're off doing things. And that could be another brewery or brewer, or it could be a band, or it could be a university, like what we're up to. And you're doing these different things where you're commingling in a different way with said organization. This is where I think the world is going in this direction. It's going to continue going this way. And the brewing community, let's go back 6 years in time, we were all on a singular mission to just get market share from the big guys. Okay, and so it didn't really matter. We weren't really ever in competition with each other. Maybe that's changed, or maybe it's the fact that beer is just on a slow decline, or has been on a slow decline for a couple of years. We're all like wanting to collaborate. We're all just real humans.
Yeah.
Building something and doing something. Bigger money has come into the space, though, a lot in these past 5 years. And, that's, I think, changed the landscape a little bit. But, we're all still going at it that way. And then a lot of times if it's a brewery-to-brewery collaboration, you're, brewing at our place and then brewing at their place. And then we're each releasing that beer in a different way. A lot of times in Athens now, we're brewing a long beer, meaning it goes into barrel-aged, it's a barrel-aged stout or barley wine at the production site, and then a short beer, some sort of Pilsner or hazy IPA or some other product is happening at the brew pub, that we can then put out there. So in some breweries we've done every couple of years, we do it again, kind of thing. It just all depends on what's going on.
I think that's beautiful. I think that there's something healthy about having like a good competition, but it's not met with like disdain or it's like, how do we lift each other up? How do we support each other? How do we bring people together?
Well, the regional nature of what we're doing is a lot of times, in the past at least, in the heyday, it was, you're not even in the same geographical territory as them.
Sure.
So you're brewing one there,
sure,
and they get a piece of Jackie O's there, and you're brewing one here, and that brewery shows up on the shelves of Ohio.
Yeah. I think home brewing just lends itself to that too. Like that culture has really transformed over like the last decade, because I know Pittsburgh also has a very like large home brewing, game going on there.
Yeah, home brewing, and then all of so many home brewers grew to craft brewers.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
That's the.
Well, I had two questions. I had one. You mentioned Newcastle. I love that story, but that beer, I'm like,
Yeah, it had its time.
It had its time. But in that same vein, like, who inspired you to continue and not get burned out? Like, was there anybody that was a mentor in this space or that you also leaned upon or learned from outside of Jackie O's brewing?
I think it's the collective group. You know, you go to these events or you go and you're on the Ohio Craft Brewers Association. You know, we started the thing. There's a plaque on the wall over here. There were 8 of us who started the Ohio Craft Brewers Association alongside Mary. And that whole game, I was the young person on that group back then.
Sure.
And then learning and from all of them. I mean, Dick Stevens, the guy who owned the brewery that's right here, okay, and ran this building as well, was also on that board. Okay, like the people that you've met along the way. And, you know, you have all these contacts in your phone, and you're reaching out here and there for different advice and different ideas at any given time, and everybody's done something or another akin to what you're up to. And so you can just go. And a couple of years ago at the Side Project Invitational, I was just like walking home and just walking and talking with somebody who has the same role as me in their situation. And it was just unbelievable how wonderful and comfortable those conversations can be. You know, and you can just like jump in multiple tangents and run. So
it makes me think about the art of storytelling too, which I think is so intrinsically a part of community too, and family, and keeping legacies alive and telling stories and how do we, it's so secular. It's so secular. And that's so great too, that you have that community too. Like there's all these like little tiny pockets of community. So that's super great.
Is your team ever physically like in the same space, like once a year or anything where you guys have an opportunity to connect physically?
We do some holiday parties.
Yeah.
There's also times, I mean, each entity is together. Each
like
facility, establishment, intertwines together. And then we had the holiday party here last year, and it was in July. And we're going to go back to, I don't know. It's hard to facilitate a party for 175 people in Athens. Okay, the bowling alley closed, and we ran the bowling alley as our holiday party venue for 5, 6, 7, 8 years pre-COVID, and grew into fill that space up pretty well. But I don't even know if we could go with this 50 or so people added into it. It's just there's funny games for how to do that. But I'm off topic again. But
maybe you should buy the bowling alley.
They wanted me to buy it, but they want way too much money for it.
Well, maybe they'll come back to the table.
Well, I hope so. The problem is, it would be fun. The problem is that land value is worth more as an apartment or a condo than it is for that. This is the problem. Because like there's people want to save that place, and
we do not need more of that shit.
No, there's a lot.
It's funny. Again, I'm going to go down a tangent here, but this past weekend we went to the South Park wave pool, which has been around for decades and decades. And I was saying to my girlfriend that we went with and our kids, I was like, these facilities and these types of things, they need to be saved because they're all going away. And like, who the fuck needs another development? Nobody.
But we have to go and visit and patronize them, or it's going to go like Jogga Lake and SeaWorld. I grew up 1 mile from Jogga Lake and SeaWorld. I was there all the time in the summers. I like learned my social well-being there at Jogga Lake. You know, and it's not there.
No.
It's not there.
I know.
It's not there.
Yeah, well, and that's what I said to her, too. I was like, I will happily give my money to these guys. You have to pay $7 a raft, but then you get $1 back if you take the raft back. So the kids went around and took all they gathered up all the rafts. And, but and it,
well, if you don't put your energy and your time into something,
it's like anything else.
We had a random conversation last night in the hotel room talking about MLMs. And, and
multi-level marketing, like Mary Kay.
Yeah, and so we were talking about Mary Kay, and she was like, man, it's just been around forever. And I was like, yeah, but are they doing anything to cultivate, like, the younger generation right now? Because all of these people are going to essentially die off that continue to use this product. So to your point, like, how do you continue to reinvent and get people to come and patronize establishments as like you're talking about, maybe beer's on the decline, or, different things are happening within our world, like that's a whole full-time job in itself.
20-somethings, college kids aren't drinking like we drink.
I've heard this. And I also wanted to ask this earlier, and I'm glad that we're talking about this now, because there are a few breweries that are making it's like hop water. And I gotta be honest, from time to time, I love myself a good hop water. If I'm trying to like curb how much I'm drinking, and or we're out with the kids, and that, it's super refreshing. Some are better than others. I've had a few different varieties, but I've heard that too, that they're not drinking as much. They're also like, there's a lot of things that are interesting to watch, the trends of what's up and coming.
They want to be socially drinking something, right? And maybe it's hop waters, maybe it's CBD, maybe it's THC, maybe it's just a seltzer water.
Mocktails.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's mocktails. It's all that stuff.
Right.
So we're usually later to the game to stuff, but we're going to do it right when we do it. We don't have that plan just yet. Historically speaking, we cultivated fans of Jackie O's through Ohio University, right? Well, of course, it's easy to blame COVID for everything, but we're starting to see college return a little bit to some normalcy. Mm-hmm. And OU ditched its outdated marketing and outreach to students. They ditched their 1980s plan for a new age one very recently, and we've had 3 straight years of record enrollment, including the one that's about to start. So this is where the bowling alley is not going to work, because we need more places to live for people who live in Athens as well as the students. But we created fans through there, and then the opening line of the business plan for this location where I'm sitting in Columbus is there are more Ohio University alumni living in Greater Columbus than there are humans of drinking age in Athens County.
Yeah. Yeah.
So massive statement there.
Yeah.
It seemed that the kids who are 22 to 24 today weren't really drinking, but they are also deep COVID shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Their college years were jacked by COVID. Mm-hmm. And so they're starting to go out, though. We're seeing them go out now, right? And as Columbus is exploding, it's the only city in the Midwest that's growing. And there are, slated, there's 8,000 people living downtown Columbus 3 years ago. There's 13,000 today, and they're saying it's going to go to 40.
Yeah, that's
and
a big
there's
jump.
a construction all around us.
Yes.
So like we'll be in a great spot if that happens.
Yeah.
But it's a funny game for how do you cultivate that? What do you give them? What do you do? Because they're not going to drink 8 beers anymore. They're going to have 2. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's working through how to capture that as a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because it comes down to service too, right? At that point.
The experience.
Exactly.
This place is an experience, so that helps.
It is. It's such a great, there's a lot of good energy here.
There's so much good energy and so many great little pockets of, places to have friends and host people and talk to people. And, it's not just a busy bar, right?
No.
That was by design. The architect, we were almost at another location over there and had Matt Toddy, kind of the main architect for this facility, came out of Athens and checked out all the rooms and all the stuff and all the things, and went out to the farm, and there's a bunch of random stuff there, like those street lamps that used to be on Court Street, which is the main drag in Athens. They're just like laying at the farm, and it was like, well, let's just get all this hillbilly shit that you've collected.
Repurpose it.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
That's like part of our mantra.
Yeah.
And then creating unique spaces within the bigger space was another main piece of all of that. So, and outside, getting people outside and making a green oasis in the middle of.
Yeah. Well, you've done a fantastic job. When we were walking through, I was like, oh, is this blah, blah, blah? And Mario was like, I don't know. But then he did show us all of his plants he was like, I'm a plant guy.
Oh, yeah.
Of course he did.
I was like, wow.
We were so excited. I'm like, okay, now we're connecting, Mario.
These pothos just went up like 2 weeks ago.
That's what he said. He said you showed up with a box truck.
Yeah. And I,
full of plants.
all this
You
stuff
and your
got,
scissor lift to get up here.
That's right. Well, these ones are all off a ladder, but this place, hopefully, we're working on like a kind of a
Well, you know,
almost
they're
like
also,
a canopy.
Yeah, well, they're
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
fantastic for the oxygen.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
they're
I mean,
fantastic.
they're great.
Yeah,
That's going to
good.
be so cool when it fills in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It'll take a while, but it's okay.
That's all right. You got,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
You got time.
you got
Yeah.
time.
yeah.
All right. So, have you ever watched Stephen Colbert where they do the 15 questions?
I have. I'm gonna get. There's gonna be some questions like you're gonna ask me certain questions, and I'm gonna be like, pass.
Okay.
Wait, I have one question.
Okay.
Before you get into your questions, as I actually don't know what her questions are.
Great.
So this
Maybe
is a
we'll just
mystery-
ask Kristen the questions
a
then.
mystery for both of us.
If I pass, you have to answer them.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
This is fun.
This is gonna be great. Yeah, I'm just gonna. If it has anything to do with TV, I'm just gonna be like, is there one habit that you do daily that you feel like makes you who you are?
Talk to my family, and walking.
Solid.
Yeah.
Love, and getting the energy out.
Yeah.
Yep.
People always give me shit because my parents, I talk to them every day.
Your dad FaceTimed us while we were in the car waiting for you outside.
I know. And he was like, oh, my bad. I forgot. All right, call me. Let me know how it goes. Good luck. I was like, thanks, Dad. Good luck.
How do you?
This is also the same man that told me on our thing. It says it's fucking funny, and my dad's like, you need to take that
honey,
F word out.
You cannot put that in there.
I was
Yes,
like,
fucking
Dad.
can.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to. I'm living authentically. It's unprofessional. Thank you, Michael. Anyways,
How do you like? What do you use to communicate with your family? Are you a texter, a FaceTime, or a phone call, email?
It depends if the kids are on, not email.
signal.
I wish it was a smoke signal. There's this horn somewhere that I could blow. They can't hear it. I bought it with them, though, in this funny spot, dude. Text, you got some time? Give me a ring, kind of thing. Or phone calls.
I love that your sister texted you while we were on here saying, I'm driving. Give me a call. Because I love to talk when I'm also driving. That's like the only time I really like to talk on the phone. I like to text. Otherwise, I will FaceTime. You know, I think FaceTime is better if you have the space and the time.
Yeah, I like FaceTime. I also have started using more audio messages to send to people
Those
rather than
can be
a
That's
text.
been
fun.
a new thing. It's been happening a lot. Yeah.
I just enjoy that. I feel like it's a little bit more authentic, and it can't be as misconstrued
Exactly.
as a text message.
Isn't that the worst?
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that? Well, no, I know you haven't, so I'm just going to stop there. But
See, we didn't.
there's
get very
another.
far.
Do you know the comedians Key and Peele? Oh, fuck. All right, whatever. I'll just stop there. But there's
Pass.
a video.
Neither do I. Pass.
Never mind. All right. Here we go. If
I
you
like
had
that
one,
we've
okay,
established these rules already. It's fantastic. Pass.
you had one superpower, what would it be?
To fly.
See, yeah, solid. He didn't say pass, so you don't get to answer that. No, go ahead if you want to answer that.
No, I'll wait. I'll wait for
Okay.
my time.
Best sandwich.
Carol's Southfield Brunch from the 90s in Athens.
That's the name of the sandwich?
That was Carol's Southfield Brunch, number 46, I think. And it was at Zachary's, which is gone for some reason. It was a chicken salad, real thick bacon. It was like a Dijon mustard with lettuce and tomato on like a nice piece of bread.
What was the title of it again?
Carol's Southfield Brunch.
Or is it Carol? We don't know.
Carol.
Or is it
Caroline's?
Caroline's.
I think it was Carol.
Okay.
Carol's Southfield Brunch.
What is one thing you
That
should...
was bullshit.
Sorry, you didn't pass. I'm not supposed to speak.
Yeah. All right, what is one thing you really should throw out?
Throw out.
I also answered all of these for
A
myself.
third of the shit that I've hoarded.
Okay. Like furniture, decor.
Yes,
Okay.
all of the above.
I just said some bras. You know.
I hoard shit. Mm-hmm. And I have too many spaces that I could put shit. And so a third of it needs to go away.
Okay.
Probably 2/3, but
All right.
a third would be a great start.
Flat or sparkling?
Sparkling. Oh, no. Like water. Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely flat.
What else did you think we were talking about?
What else did you...
I was thinking
Flat or
still.
sparkling.
Flat or sparkling, like
Water?
boring or not. I was like, sparkles.
Do you have a flat personality or a sparkling personality?
Please glitter me.
It's just not here or any of my locations.
Nope.
But no, still water.
Okay. I'm a big
But
sparkle
sparkling in life.
girl. Good to know. All right. Favorite smell?
Wow.
I think this is the question that you were going to skip, but I'm going to ask you anyways, or pass. What do you think happens when we die?
We turn in the trees.
We feed the trees.
We feed the trees. We are trees.
We are trees.
We're part of the ethos
Yes.
of the thing.
Yeah, yeah. What about our spirit?
It lives on in all of us.
Okay. I feel like we're quoting movies now.
I would agree with that, though, to a point.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Oranges.
Oh, no, apples.
Have we talked about my orange shower?
What?
This is a grounding exercise I'm going to give you both to do. So next time you have a stressful day, I want you to go home. I want you to get a nice hot steamy shower. I want you to take an orange into the shower with you, peel the orange, and let the peels fall on the bottom of the shower, and eat the orange, and just literally let all of your worries go down the drain, because the aromatherapy of the orange peel and the hot water hitting it while you're eating the like juicy cold orange is fucking amazing.
How often are you doing this?
I wouldn't say with super regularity. I should incorporate it more.
Yeah, cool. I like this.
Yeah,
a lot.
I would say like,
That
you know,
is-
right now maybe I get to do it once a month
I've
or
never
something.
heard. I've heard about
Yeah.
like bringing like eucalyptus into the shower and stuff like that.
Right,
but
this is
that
like
fascinating.
incorporating more than one scent.
Yeah.
Sense.
Yeah. Sense.
Right.
Senses.
Yeah. Sense.
I love that. I've never done that. I have. Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. Favorite action movie?
Do Star Wars count?
Sure.
Indiana Jones. Any of them.
Any of them. Okay. All right.
Raiders of the Lost Ark's the best one, but yeah.
That's a pretty twisted one, but yeah.
Yeah.
My kids
Is
asked
that the
a
one
lo-
where he like puts his hand in the guy's chest and
No, that's Temple
no,
of
that's
Doom.
Temple of
Oh,
Doom.
okay.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is where they basically has the Nazis.
Yeah.
Their
Oh,
faces
okay.
melt off. I mean,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Or when he goes, Indiana. That's pretty good. That one's good too.
scariest animal.
A hippo.
They are fucking scary. Yeah. I put a. What did I put? Oh, a mama grizzly bear.
Oh.
well, that'd be pretty scary.
That would be terrifying. Have you ever asked anyone for their autograph?
For sure. It would have started with the Cleveland Force back in the 80s. Probably Keith Furphy, first one. But yes, lots of Indian or lots of Cleveland
Baseball
icons.
players.
Yeah.
Okay, like sports.
Sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has anyone asked you for your autograph?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Some
Well-
cans, some weird, yeah.
I think we should start a tradition, and the box that our guest mic is in, having people sign it. So
Oh, nice.
maybe it'll be if we
We're
have a
not
Sharpie.
using that box though, ladies.
It's where the mic goes.
Keep bringing up the fucking box.
Listen from
Sign
the
our
start.
box. Okay. All right. Exercise. Is it worth it?
Yeah, I don't do enough of it.
Okay.
But I'm walking a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played pickleball yesterday for the first time though. I think I'm going to get into pickleball.
Okay, here we
Yeah.
go.
I should
All
have
right.
brought my pickleball paddles.
We're,
I don't know. There's got to be
are
pickleball
you just
around
going to
here.
like walk around? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
The beauty of the pickleball, I think, is you can just like knock the ball around anywhere. You know?
Right. Oh, so my family is big into disc golf, but we really haven't had time to get out and play disc
Yeah.
golf. And just recently, we picked up pickleball.
Nice.
It's so much fun.
Well, I've been an avid ping ponger forever. Like we've been playing ping pong for a long time. Like myself, friends, lots of people, and I knew I was going to really like pickleball. And yeah, it's good. I think it's going to be good.
Now I
Yeah.
need to play.
Yeah,
I've never
come on
played.
out.
You got to stretch. Make sure you stretch. All these people that are definitely older than we are just jacking knees and ankles left and
And
right.
rotator cuffs.
And rotator cuffs. Exactly. They're falling and smashing. Yeah.
Yep. It's a thing.
Maybe I won't. Okay.
Yeah. Stretch. Just stretch.
All right. If you had to listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Yeah. Pass.
I did write down a song.
Did you?
Yeah, but I feel like any song would, after a while, the music here last night was on point.
Yeah.
I was digging it.
I think I would go with more a like Native American flute type situation rather than one song.
Okay.
You know? 'Cause
I'd
then I
pick
could
something
just
from the
meditate.
Beatles. I'd pick something from the
Yeah.
Beatles, some historic.
So that's what
relevant.
mine was.
The Beatles.
Song. Yeah. All right. What's the most used app on your phone?
Message. iMessage.
Okay. And the last question is, describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
Fun, loving, good times, always.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any tattoos, but that should be one of. If you ever get a tattoo, that should be it.
Yeah. Do you have tattoos?
I do not.
You look like someone who...
I know. This is funny. We talk about it. My siblings
I'm
and I,
shocked.
none of us have.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's funny. I need to make sure I remember
I'm
that.
shocked.
Fun, loving, good times,
Well, we
always.
have it
Something-
recorded.
Yeah, we got it.
You can come back and revisit this anytime you want. This has been great.
It has been.
I never talked about Chomolungma.
No, we should do that.
Yeah, we need to...
Yep.
You're absolutely
Because
right. You did
I was
not.
just going to ask, like, do you feel like you talk to spirit guides or, you know, something like that? But I think that this feeds into what you're going to talk about.
So I tell Mom, I'm going to name this thing Jackie O's Pub and Brewery. A bar, you know, fuck off. My brother, like literally same day, is like, hey, Mom, I'm going to climb Mount Everest.
Oh.
Okay? And so you go for it, honey, she says. I'm like, what? Brian is an avid endurance athlete.
Okay.
Okay. He's top 10 in the country for ultra marathoning today in his age bracket. Okay.
That's incredible.
Typically that age bracket is winning a lot of the races anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's upper echelon. He sells altitude, you know. He says, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Right. And so all of us kind of set forth on a journey to kind of help with that. Jackie O's made a beer to support that, and that's where the beer Chomolungma came from. And naturally, it's a brown ale.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It was going to be an IPA, but yeah, that style just didn't fit. Okay, in that story. And again, this journey sets forth. The idea was to climb it without oxygen and to raise money for lung cancer awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Longevity is a lung cancer research organization that a lot of that awareness got put forth towards.
Right.
And so Chomolungma means goddess mother of the earth, or Saga Martha, Tibetan and Mandarin. So the idea is like to raise money for awareness, to climb this mountain, to do this thing that's this impossible journey.
Right.
It used very little Sherpa support. Justin Hewitt and my brother are the two who climbed. Katie was very involved and may or may not have went higher than you're supposed to in your helping of people get up this mountain. I'll put it that way. My dad and my Uncle John were also at base camp for a little while.
Wow.
And I was in Athens. I honestly, when Brian summited, I
Yes.
knew he was summiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had altitude issues at 650 feet in Athens, Ohio, throughout that entire journey. And I knew when he started coming back down. Very strange.
That is so great.
Mystical
Yeah.
things going on there. Happening at 4 a.m. That's about when summit was, something to that effect. And just crazy. So like the beer Chomolungma means a lot to us.
Yeah.
The woodcut's down there somewhere. But on the can, there's a silhouette, or there is the Mount Everest is on the can. There's a Yeti. Yes. With a gap in his teeth, who's wearing a rucksack that says BWO for Brian Wilford Oestrike. And there's a Tibetan prayer flag in the Yeti's hand. And it just kind of fits the whole bill. So, like, that story is a great story.
Yes.
And, that beer is a wonderful beer. Unfortunately, brown ales are not hot in the marketplace today. And we're working on how this beer lives on within our worlds beyond the printed can.
Sure.
That the whole story and the whole thing and everything we did all those early years, there's a lot of it behind that.
Yeah.
But on May 23rd, 2007, Brian summited, put a picture of he and Mom inside a little I'm going to say pagoda. It's not the right word. Instead of a little box that's up at the summit.
Yeah.
You know, an homage to her and that whole thing. But they did use oxygen at about 28,000 feet because they had, you know, cans with them. Those cans did make it all the way back down. They're not up there somewhere. You know, there's a lot of, in the news, a lot of cleaning up of Everest that's happening today.
Yeah.
And just like a really epic, full-on journey that we all went through in the whole story and that was very instrumental in those early years, right? Lots of different fundraisers and things like that. And we've kind of tried to do more fundraisers as we move forward. We've had Chomolungma Day multiple years to support that and that sort of thing. And I believe that we'll be moving it to a half-year celebration very soon.
Yeah.
In the Midwest, having a release of a brown ale on November 23rd makes a lot more sense than on May 23rd. I'll put it that way.
It's getting hot.
You know,
Here,
it's getting hot. Here, have this
heavy beer.
hot thing on this hot day that's
Yeah.
getting hotter every year, it feels like. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of the direction for where we want to go with that. And that's like right around Thanksgiving. It's right around the time of
It's
year
perfect.
that would be ideal. So
Around a fire.
yes,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So, you know, that's the story of Chomolungma, said in an odd way. I feel like I didn't, you know, I say it differently every time, but that's kind of the gist of that. But it like really surrounded us those
Yes.
years after Mount Pass.
Well, and again, it goes back to like it's a storytelling moment. It's able to continue to honor and to bring forth that energy in those moments, right? Like, because I'm sure you can take yourself right back to that day when they were summiting, and naturally they can take themselves back because it's like
Right.
a once in a lifetime. I mean, I also have literally no desire, but like I've watched those documentaries and it is unbelievable. And it's not just the physical part of it, it's the mental part of it. It's
Yeah.
God.
And my daughter's actually mentioned wanting to climb Everest before, and I'm like, all right, well, you know.
Well, it's crazy because like they're playing Yahtzee. You got a lot of downtime. You're sitting at base camp,
Right.
and they're playing Yahtzee like crazy. And like literally, they covered a person who they played Yahtzee with. You know, 2 days before, they put a flag over their body.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, days later, and like left the body there. Like you can't. You're not. Yeah, it's just a wild.
Well, and there's something about
So
that
crazy.
like you have to kind of go into it knowing that you're also going to be faced with death.
I mean,
Whether it's your death or
Right, or
it's
someone
someone
else's.
else's death. And like there is, I mean, and you have to like, yeah. And that can probably fuck people up pretty good too, because, you know, we talk a lot about grief and what that looks like and what that feels like. And I feel like as a society, we need to do better to celebrate and love and support people through grief, not just yes, there is sorrow and there is like a lower frequency feelings that are associated with having to walk that path. But there's so many amazing, beautiful, wonderful things that come out of death. And death is inevitable, right? So it's like those things where it's like, it's uncomfortable to talk about it, but yet the more we talk about it, the more comfortable we get because we are all going to be faced with it, whether it's our own, our parents, our siblings. You know, last week I celebrate every July 3rd. My cousin, Nate, it's his birthday, but he passed on July 5th. And it was the 11th anniversary of it, or the 12th anniversary of it. And we get donuts on his birthday, donuts for Nate. And we just honor him. I mean, he was a kid when he passed, and it was a tragic accident, and it was really tough. And it still is. But, like, my kids never met Nate, so they're asking questions about him. They want to know about him. And he was such a cool kid, and he was so great. And that still lives on. That does not die, right? And so I think, too, there's so much symbolism in your mom's passing, but then your brother honoring her by doing Everest. Like, God, there's so much symbolism there.
Tons.
You know,
Tons.
and having that beer
Yeah.
to continue to always bring back that story, I think that's great. I think that's life. You know, that is so beautiful and so wonderful, and I love that so hard.
I think that's some of the most sacred parts of life too, right? The ones that we like hold so close to us, and we don't necessarily go beyond the surface level to reach those and share those and communicate those with people. So your willingness to do that and be like really raw
and vulnerable
with all of that, I think is so cool.
I do too. I really do, because there's a lot of people that probably will be listening to this that will find a release in something that they're holding on to that is on that same path. And that's what our hope is for this podcast, is to always, every episode, bring something to somebody that helps them move forward and grow in a really beautiful way.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's
Love it.
Well, we love you.
Love you too.
I mean, this has just
It's
been
been so great. Yeah.
thanks.
Are we going to see your beer in Pittsburgh soon?
Oh, yeah.
Man, there's some funny questions around that one. I'm going to press pass.
Got it. Pass. Pass.
Ideally, yes. There's no doubt. We will be doing an event in Boardman at Vintage Estates first weekend in August. It's coming very soon, maybe second. But we aspire to. The laws are a little funny.
I was just going to say,
and the
is
timing
it,
is a little funny, and we're
Okay.
not ready for Pennsylvania as a large beer drinking state, just like Ohio is.
Yes.
So we want to be ready when it's time.
Totally.
Yeah. So pretty
Perfect.
hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you
Thank you
for doing this.
Appreciate this.
Taking your time.
Do you have
You
any
got it.
parting words for our listeners?
Go Brownies.
Oh man!
You had to ask that question, didn't you?
I know. I was hoping it wasn't going to go there.
Parting.
It's like it's going to be.
You've
okay,
won
that's
Super
okay.
Bowl
We're
thing.
fine.
It's how you feel.
Steelers, right?
Yeah, it's
6.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Steelers. Yeah, have you won some Super Bowls in your lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well,
fine.
fuck off.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Also, I don't know if our listeners really are like the strongest. I mean,
Right.
maybe there's some people out there.
Yeah, you know. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up, guys.
All right. Well,
Cheers.
yeah.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a blast.
I agree.
All right. Go drink some burr. Jackie
Burr.
O's.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.